Hey, so in this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between health and fitness, or how I see health versus fitness. And then I'm going to relate that to a story about myself a few years ago. Then I'm going to give you some numerical data, or I should say some objective measurements that you can use and compare it to your results when you go to the doctor next time to see whether you are unhealthy, healthy, or approaching health, or if there's something you have to change, or if you're doing everything that you need to do. And then in the caption down below, I'm going to share with you some guidelines from the American College of Sports Medicine that will help you get towards these healthy ranges, okay? And avoid these unhealthy ranges. So first, what's health? To me, I would say health is what's happening underneath, right? So when I'm talking about health, I'm talking about physiological health. I'm not talking about financial health, spiritual health, mental health, right? Because health encompasses like 6 components, maybe 6+ components. I'm just talking about physical right now, physiological, right? And fitness is what you can do, right? So in my case, a few years ago, I was training for an exam, a physical fitness test, right? And part of the physical fitness test, you had to run 1.5 miles and as fast as you could do it, right? I think the passing time might have been like 15 minutes or something like that for males. For females, I didn't know what it was. But I ran the 1.5 mile run in 9 minutes and 6 seconds, okay? Now, granted, that's not as fast as we could have ran it in high school when we were running or when I was running. But by most people's standards right now, 9 minutes and 6 seconds and 1.5 miles was like 6 minutes and 2 minute pace, is considered fit, right? By most people's standards. However, the way I went about it, if I was to check my blood pressure, if I was to check my blood markers, which I'm about to get into right now, probably wouldn't have been that good. Why? Because the way I went about it, I wasn't able to sleep. I was doing high intensity session after high intensity session, lifting weights, high intensity session, lifting weights again, high intensity interval training again, right? I was irritable, all that stuff. And I didn't know why. I would go to bed, my heart would be aching, right? I would be awake and I'll feel sharp pains in my heart. And I didn't know why, like no idea. But the more I realized what I was doing, the more I got educated on how to exercise and how to train and things like that. That's when I started getting familiar with these concepts like overtraining syndrome, overreaching, functional overreaching, non-functional overreaching. And you do have some influencers out there who say, oh, you're supposed to overtrain. Overtraining is a myth or blah, blah, blah. That's BS, okay? So let me get into the numbers right now for health, because I'm not going to get into numbers about fitness, because numbers about fitness, you don't really have universal standards for what is considered fit, right? You may have a general consensus here or there that, oh, this is fit for the squat, this is fit for the mile or whatever. But if you do want me to do a video about that, maybe I could do it in the future. But right now we're going to talk about health. So the American College of Sports Medicine, they said that borderline high levels for LDL is 130 to 159 milligrams per deciliter, and the high levels for LDL will be 160 to 189 milligrams per deciliter. Now, I'm not going to go over every number. I'm not going to go over optimal, near optimal, severely high, or things like that. Just the ones that I feel like that you need to be wary of for the sake of brevity. Okay, so that's LDL. Right? And now we have HDL. HDL lower than 40 milligrams per deciliter would increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. And then 60+ milligrams per deciliter, is more favorable, right? Now, total cholesterol. And if anybody know what LDL means, LDL is low density lipoproteins and HDL is high density lipoproteins, okay? Total cholesterol numbers that you want to be aware of right now. The favorable amount would be less than 200 milligrams per deciliter. The borderline amount would be 200 to 239 milligrams per deciliter. And the high amount would be 240+ milligrams per deciliter. Okay. Now remember in the caption, I'm going to tell you what the ACSM says you should be doing in order to strive towards the favorable numbers and avoid these unfavorable numbers, okay? Now for triglycerides, Borderline high level would be 150 to 199 milligrams per deciliter, and the high level would be 200 to 499 milligrams per deciliter. Now for fasting blood glucose, all right? So not an oral glucose tolerance test where you drink something, you wait 2 hours and see what happens, right? Fasting blood glucose levels, the pre-diabetic range will be 100 to 125 milligrams per deciliter, and the diabetic range would be 126 milligrams per deciliter plus, right? And last but not least, we have a blood pressure. Now for blood pressure, you have normal blood pressure, you have elevated blood pressure, you have stage 1 hypertension, and you have stage 2 hypertension. Right now, I'm just going to go over stage 1 hypertension. I'm not going to even go over stage 2 because if you're already at stage 1, you already know you got to go down, right? So stage 1 hypertension, the systolic number, which is the number on the top, if it's between 130 to 139, then you are at stage 1 hypertension. And the diastolic number, the one on the bottom, if it's between 80 to 89, you are at stage 1 hypertension. Now the borderline high level for hypertension, so if you're creeping, right, you're getting close to hypertension, the systolic number, the one on the top, will be between 120 to 129 milligrams per deciliter. Okay, now if you read the caption, you'll see what the ACSM has to say about resistance training, also known as weightlifting, and what they have to say about cardio and the different types of cardio that you should be doing in order to achieve favorable blood markers. Okay, so if you do have any questions about health and or fitness, right, then you could reach me in the comment section or DM me, but preferably you could probably start in the comment section. Now, normally when we're talking about PFTs, right, when we're talking about how fast you can run the 2 mile, the 1.5, how many push-ups you can do, how many sit-ups you can do, and how many pull-ups you can do, we're not talking about health, we're talking about fitness. And sometimes it lies on a continuum. So before you get to fitness, you should be worried about your health, right? You should be doing healthy things, right? You should be sleeping 7 to 9 hours. Maybe some people even say 9 to 10, depending on how much you train. And then after you take care of your health, then you can worry about fitness. However, in the pursuit of fitness, depending on the way you go about it, you can actually compromise your health while becoming more fit, like I did some years ago. Now that's not something you want to do. Now some of the best people in the world, some of the best athletes in the world, that may be a compromise that they have to take in order to become the best. And if that's the way you want to live your life, that's great, respect it. If you don't want to live your life like that, again, understandable, I respect it. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Till next time, gotta go.